To begin this off, I live in a nice city in North Dakota. Yeah, I know, the most boring state ever. Growing up, I lived with my parents in a very nice house in a wealthy neighborhood. Around 5 years ago, when I was in 6th or 7th grade, my parents got divorced, and I mainly lived with my dad. For a couple of years, we lived in a really nice apartment, also in a wealthy neighborhood. But just around a year and a half ago, we moved into our first house. At first, I was excited, but after a month of living there, that quickly changed. It was a very small house, so I wasn't used to it, but that wouldn't have mattered to me if it weren't for the neighborhood. The neighborhood was really ghetto, and 1 block away there was even a trailer park and some community homes. I had some scary experiences there, but nothing crazy until last week. This still has me trembling, and I've gone back to staying at my mom's because of this. So here it is. I just got home from school. It was the end of the 2nd semester finals, and it was a Friday, so I was relieved to get home and rest. I actually took a 3-hour nap when I got home, and woke up at around 6 p.m. Upon waking up, I got on my Xbox and started playing and talking with some friends. Later on, at around 8 p.m., my dad told me he was going to a party to celebrate one of his friends' birthdays, so I was going to be home alone. I'm 17, so being home alone obviously isn't a problem. But living in that house the past year has turned me into the most paranoid person you've ever met. I'm always aware of my surroundings, even with my headset on, so at around 9:30 p.m., I thought I heard something upstairs. This bothered me at first, but when I saw my dog Colby wasn't lying on her bed by me, I realized she must have been upstairs as she sleeps up there a lot. So I put my headset back on and kept talking to my friends. Only 10 minutes later, I heard another noise, like a creaking noise. My stairs are old wooden stairs, and they creak like crazy. This had me worried, but then I realized again that it had to be my dog, since anything can make those stairs creak. But after that sound, I only put one of my earpieces on, and left the other one on the side of my head so I could hear better. After tuning into my games again, I was about to put my earpiece back on, when I heard the loudest bang ever. It sounded like you took a heavy-ass chair and just slammed it on the ground at the top of the stairs. This made me jump, and some of my friends even heard it. I threw down my headset and listened. I could even hear my friends screaming from my headset that was 8 feet to the right of me. I grabbed my airsoft gun, just so I had something to at least scare someone if there actually was someone in my house. It was a nice gun, with a full metal slide that made the most real gun noise when you pulled it back and released it. The gun even looked real, and even had a painted black tip. I moved very slow to the noise, and at the corner of the wall right next to the beginning of my staircase, I cocked back the metal slide out of adrenaline. This was a huge mistake. I heard some things being moved forcefully, and then steps heading towards the stairs. This had me shitting my pants. I was freaking out at the realization that there was actually some dude in my house who probably had bad intentions. I was frozen in fear. My arms were full of goosebumps, and I swear my heart had never pounded so hard. I finally clicked into gear and started to move away from the stairs, but the footsteps had stopped, so I did too. I didn't want to bring attention to me as I thought my scare tactics might have actually worked. But then the most terrifying moment of my life happened next. As I'm sitting there in silence, completely shitting myself, I heard a faint whisper of a deep-ass voice say, "Evan?" That is my fucking name. My heart dropped at this point. I couldn't believe it. This guy knows my name somehow, and he's sitting only 30 feet away from me up some stairs in my pitch-black house. I dropped my fake gun, beelined it for the front door, and picked up my phone on the way as it was in the living room. I also heard footsteps racing down the stairs, so I flung my front door open and raced outside. I never thought I'd be relieved to be in the middle of my street in the ghetto neighborhood at night. I dashed for the main road that was half a block away and didn't even look back. I saw a car at a red light and started screaming my ass off. I thought I was in the clear, but I heard footsteps following me. I did the dumbest thing of looking back, and I saw this tall guy with a black hoodie over his head. But the worst thing is, I saw his eyes clear as day. He looked angry, and we locked eyes, and in that moment I've never felt so helpless. This only made my adrenaline boost about 100%, so I ran even harder. I felt like my heart could stop beating at any moment. I finally got to the intersection, where thankfully the light hadn't changed yet, as that dash only lasted around 15 seconds. I noticed the guy in the car saw me and could tell I was in a panic. There was another person in the passenger seat as well. I made it to their door and literally face planted into the car window because after all that running my legs went numb and I collapsed. They both exited the vehicle, and when I came back to my senses, I sat up. They were wondering if I was okay, and when I caught my breath I pointed behind me to where I was being chased. But the guy was gone. He must have dipped after he saw I was going to a car. They called the police, and they had me stay in their car, as it was -22 outside with a bunch of snow, and all I had was a t-shirt and shorts on. I was even barefoot. But none of this affected me until I got into the car to realize that I was trembling from fear and coldness. The driver gave me his coat, and he stayed on the line with 911 while his girlfriend kept me company. Eventually the cops came, and even an ambulance. They gave me some blankets and started to question me. They asked me where my parents were, and I told them that my dad had left, and they gave him a call. I could hear my dad yelling into the phone. They then asked what happened, and I told them everything. And that brings me to now, where I'm still terrified to live at my mom's even though it's in a nice protected house in a nice neighborhood. I missed a lot of school because of this, and yesterday was my first day back. My friends all came up to me and surrounded me. I realized they had listened to the whole thing happen from my headset, which I had left on the couch. I told them what happened, and I could see their eyes light up as I told them the details. I'm hoping to return to normal soon, because this has me fucked up. Just for reference, I'm a female and at the time I was 21. During my third year of college, I thought that it was time that I finally lived semi-independently. I say semi because I still needed help with rent. Naturally, I began asking around. I refused to go to Craigslist because I was scared of creeps. How ironic. One night, my friend texted me, telling me that 2 of her friends were in need of a roommate. I was getting desperate, so I agreed to check out the place. A few days, phone calls, and messages back and forth later, I drove down to the address I was given. I arrived at a decent-looking brick building and walked up to the apartment number I was given. I was greeted by a boy, who was honestly really cute upon first meeting him. Long story short, me and the boys got along great. We'll call them Amar and Josh. We decided it would be great to move in with each other, as we had mutual friends, and they seemed wonderful. Okay, on to the weird shit. I'd already lived there a few months, and learned a lot about Amar and Josh. I'd noticed Amar was very loud. I'd prefer not to be too crude, but the walls are paper thin, and I'd rather be asleep than hear moaning at 2 a.m. When I'd ask him to stop, he'd just get embarrassed and defensive, telling me to stop listening to him and being a creep. This annoyed the shit out of me, but I'd figured it was no use in fighting with him. Amar was also a very dark person. He listened to death and rap metal, and had pictures of gore and other stuff like that in his room. Josh, well, he was the college boy with a guitar kind of guy. Laid back, kind, supportive, and really honest in a cool way. He was really musical, which was cool, but sort of annoying. But he was good, so eh. I'd noticed one day that my favorite bra went missing. I'd figured there was a mix-up with the laundry and thought nothing of it. I was embarrassed to ask anyone for obvious reasons, but I figured it would have turned up. But it didn't. In fact, more things went missing. Not just bras either. Underwear, jewelry, headbands, and even notes I'd taken for my schoolwork would go missing. I started to get pissed off by it. I decided to call a house meeting. This was like a family meeting for the 3 of us whenever there was a real problem. I told them about my things disappearing, and neither one of them even batted an eye. Josh just said that maybe I'd lost them, and Amar asked if I needed a tampon. I was furious. I decided to do something really bad that day. The boys would often go to our mutual friend's place to play games and drink alcohol, and who knows what else. One day when they were gone, I snooped. It was wrong, but I snooped. I checked Amar's room first. I found nothing that was in plain sight. I checked Josh's room. It was the same. That was until I checked under Josh's bed. I looked under the bed using the light on my phone as a flashlight. I found a large shoebox under the bed. I pulled it out, taking off the lid and peering inside. I found my underwear and bra immediately. I also found a choker I'd bought a long time ago. Underneath it, though, I saw something different. I saw pictures. They were of a girl with long brown hair in various states of undress, both asleep and awake. The girl seemed unaware of the photos being taken. The girl was me. The boys got back and I screamed at Josh, telling him I was going to call the cops and making a lot of really threatening statements. Josh responded differently than I thought, though. He didn't apologize. He told me I was beautiful and that the world loved seeing me. I didn't understand at the time, but then I noticed Amar was seemingly unfazed. "Did you know about this?" I screamed at him accusingly. He just walked away, retreating to his room like a pussy. Excuse my French. I later found out that they'd both been uploading my pictures to porn sites and even selling the ones of me fully undressed. I don't even know how they got these pictures. All I know is that I got the fuck out of there. I still regret not calling the cops on their sorry asses. But what would I have said? I cut all ties, stopped talking to our mutual friends, and blocked their numbers. I'm never getting a roommate again. I used to live in a house in the middle of nowhere, and it takes a while for cops to show up. I'm a 21-year-old male, and I was 15 when this happened. My dad wasn't there when I was born, and my mom died when I was 12, so my brother had been taking care of me since I was little. My brother used to work a lot, and he would be gone for hours, or even days. So anytime I got to see my brother, we would play jokes on each other by scaring the crap out of each other. It was really dumb, but we loved it. I was hanging out with my girlfriend at my house, and you know what teenagers do when nobody was around. We cuddle and make out while watching TV. Around 4 or 5:30, my girlfriend left, and I had the whole house to myself. Not even 30 minutes after my girlfriend left, I fell asleep, and I wake up around 2 in the morning. I decided to turn off the TV, go to my room, and fall back asleep. As I was turning off the TV, I saw the lights turn on that were motion detected. I thought it was my brother coming home, so I unlocked the door and started heading upstairs. In the middle of me going upstairs, I decided to go to my brother's room and hide in his closet to jump out and scare him when he comes in. As I'm in the closet, I hear the front door opening, and I can hear things falling over, so I thought my brother was drunk or high. But I didn't care. It would be better to scare him if he's drunk anyways. I can hear him walking around downstairs. He was going into the kitchen and opening drawers and cabinets. I walked out of the room and started walking downstairs to spy on him. I was looking at him and noticed his clothing was different. It's not like what he normally wears. He was wearing a brown jacket, brown cargo pants, and running shoes. I called out his name. "Hey, Cameron!" Then I turned around and ran really fast up the stairs and went back into the room. Before I went back into the closet, I turned around and said, "Hey, dumbass, up here," and went into the closet, waiting for my brother. I hear him walking up the stairs really slow, like he was trying to scare me. I can hear him walking to the door and just stop in front of it. About 2 minutes later, I can hear the door opening, and I can hear him step inside the room. I open the closet and jump out. I was about to yell and scare him, but to my horror, there was a man that looked to me in his 40s looking at me. He looked like he had been in a nasty fight. He had an all-white beard, a bald top, and white hair on the sides of his head. His face was so rough and he had burns on his face. As we were just looking at each other, I was frozen. I could not move. I can hear my own heart beating like someone ripped out my heart and put it to my ears. I tried to be a big tough guy and say, "Who the fuck are you?" But all I got was, "Who the..." My voice cracked so hard. The man noticed and even smiled. As he was stepping closer to me, I was trying to move, but I still couldn't. Now he was right in front of me. He lifted his arm and placed it on my shoulder, then slid down my arm and he turned me around and started touching me. I couldn't fight back. I was trying, but I couldn't. He pushed me on the bed face down and pulled my pants down as he was getting ready. I remembered that my brother keeps a pocket knife under his pillow, so as he was still getting ready, I slid my hands up towards the pillow. I slipped my hand under the pillow and flipped the blade, and I guess he heard the flick of the blade because I heard him say, "What?" And before he did anything else, I turned around and jabbed the knife into his shoulder. He let out a horrifying scream, so I pushed him out of the way and ran out of the room and down the stairs to call the police. As he is still screaming, I told the lady that there was a man in my house. The lady said an officer will be there in 30 minutes, and she told me to stay on the line, but I ran outside and hid in a bush to wait for the police. While I was in hiding, the guy never even came outside. 30 minutes later, the cops came, and they arrested the guy. They said they found him in my room touching himself and rubbing his stab wound. That's how fucking crazy this guy was. I know this story is hard to believe, but it's true. It was hard writing this story out. Sometimes I get embarrassed while telling it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you email it to urmaker6260@gmail.com. And if you would like to gain early access to my content, as well as some other cool perks, make sure you go check out my Patreon page. It's a cool way for you guys to help support the channel, as well as get some cool perks. I appreciate everyone checking out this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.